The ninth season of Consider This is brought to you in part by From the Top, a national program showcasing the musical talents of young people. From the Top can be heard on KVNO Classical 90.7 each Sunday at 5 p.m.
Consider This, a program of issues and information behind today's news. Once again, from the campus of the University of Nebraska at Omaha, here is your host, Carol Schrader.
Hello and welcome back to UNO. Many of today's families are struggling financially. They don't have high incomes, and what money they have has to go for very important things like rent and food and medical needs. But the issue is, how do they get ahead? Well, there's a new organization called the Family Economic Success Initiative that is pulling together a lot of great groups and organizations to help people move forward when it feels like they can't. My guest today is Ed Leahy, formerly of the Immigration Rights Network, and now with the Family Economic Success Initiative, which we will now just call FESI because it's a mouthful.
Yes.
This is something new, and obviously it's been a little while in the making. You're just really just getting off the ground as far as moving up, aren't you?
Boy, yes, we've hit the ground running. FESI began officially in January 2006. We're going to have a more formal launching of the program end of February, beginning of March. But it has been a whirlwind month and a half of activity.
Okay, let's go back. Let's try and do it chronologically in terms of just what the needs were, where the gaps are in not just education, but the ability of people who you know, to get bank accounts, do all the kinds of things that you and I take for granted.
Right. Well, that's as old as humanity is, but the FESI is really rooted in work that the United Way of the Midlands has been helping to facilitate and coordinate for about the last 5 years through the work of Julie Kalkowski. And Julie is, well known throughout the community as somebody whose desire to help families is clear and evident, especially when it comes to things like taxes. Not only reporting them and paying them, but getting every available credit that can help a family to achieve stability, especially the earned income tax credit.
Which, a quarter of the people eligible
don't even claim. Right.
And that's money in the pockets of families that need it.
It's real money in the pockets of families. And on top of that, not only does that, when families claim that, but it brings more money into our own community that generates a greater economy because while that credit enables some family to pay down debt or put a little away or
fix the car,
they also do spend a little bit of that.
But they spend it here even if they fix the car, right?
Exactly.
So the idea was, and there were a whole other issues. There are what we call the unbanked population that we take it for granted. We talked before the show about how you don't even see a paycheck anymore.
Right.
And then the issue of those who don't have bank accounts, and many of our immigrants particularly, then they have to go to places to get them cashed, and that can take money right off the top. I mean, there's all kinds of these things going on.
Yeah, in a sense, FESI came about as a result of the research and the initial dialogues that Julie and the United Way have been doing in the community and pulling together interested people. And now is the opportunity to have a real staff dedicated to work full-time on these issues, to bring some greater coordination and organization to coalitions that are helping working families, to bring in some skills in negotiating so that partners in the community, banks and others, are able to respond to the real economic needs of families by offering new products and services.
Give me some examples of, you've worked in struggling communities for a long time. Give me some examples of a type of family that could be helped by some of the things, and what are the things on the horizon and the things we just talked about that not lots, but maybe by any given month standards, a lot of money in their pocket or in their future, or owning a home.
Sure. There's across Nebraska in this tax season, there's about 200 clinics that can help people to pay their taxes and get the returns prepared for free. That's especially for families that make less than $37,000 a year, or for individuals making around 13, 17, in that range. And here in the metro area, there's about 70. Now, last Saturday, we had a special one-day clinic that pulled together some extra services that people could also get. We had banks there who were ready and disposed to help people open direct deposit accounts so that they could get their income tax returns directly deposited, thus receiving it quicker within about 7 to 10 days, and then leading hopefully to a continuing customer relationship with them. We had children's health insurance so that families could come in and make sure that their children were getting the benefits and the programs that they are eligible for.
Such as Kids Care.
Such as Kids Care, Kids Connect, and all of that. We had the taxpayer advocate from the IRS there, who actually helped some people clear up some headaches that they had from the past, or here's what you can do, or here are other documents that you need to be sure that you're having to avoid any other problems. I remember one client that came and spoke with them. She said that lady was so helpful. She was just felt like a burden had been lifted from her. Not only was she going to get her return back and more money than she expected, but she also had this other issue removed from her.
Those things that hang over you like a dark cloud.
Yeah. I'm certainly no expert. I'm lucky if I can balance my checkbook.
Right.
And in many ways feel like I'm a client of FESI as well, because there are many people who are hardworking individuals and families who are having the struggle to make ends meet today. There was sort of a perfect storm in the past year in my own life that impacted me. The rising gas prices, and I drove a lot in my previous job where that wasn't budgeted. There was, a couple of healthcare concerns and more expense that I had to have that I certainly wasn't expecting. And then there was a family emergency that I had to respond to, fly and all this. That was enough. Those three things happening at about the same time was enough to stress my personal budget to the point where it's like, my gosh, what can I do? Well, many families face that day in and day out. And
no end to the storm.
And there's no end to the story. But now what we hope to do is bring together some solutions, bring together those agencies and individuals who really do care about families and want to see families succeed, to focus on moments like that. And that's through financial education and counseling, to make sure that we're prepared for those rainy days, that you have your back pocket covered, that you have some savings that you can rely on for your expenses, that you value the savings, that you understand the economic power that an individual has. It doesn't really matter how much I make. I have power because I'm making money. And how can I make my money work better for me?
The thing that you mentioned also before the show is that you had returned from a meeting that you had today, and it's about something that I would think would be one of the most hopeful things for families. The thought of buying a home is so out of the mind, and it's not even in the fantasy world. That would be too easy to fantasize about that and then feel like, why would I want to fantasize? I would just be sad and depressed. There's something new out, or relatively new, that it puts a little hope, and that somebody can buy a house someday. The money is put aside automatically.
The program that you're referring to is what's known as an Individual Development Account, or IDA.
Now this is one of those kind of IRS-approved kind of little conventions.
Yes, it's really a matched savings program whereby a client or an employee who enrolls in the program, meeting eligibility requirements, how much one makes per year, dedicates to save $50 a month. That savings is matched with a federal grant 2-to-1. So within a year, if a family saves $50 a month, that's about $1,200. That by the end of that year, they'll actually have $2,400.
Now this would be when you talked about a client. They're a client of some service federally funded entity or service.
Yes, well, we have essentially 4 programs in IDAs that are going on right now. One is employer-based, and the current employer that's offering this in a limited way for their employees is Marriott. They have 10 accounts, I believe, and currently 8 of their employees are enrolled in the program, are actively saving, and are looking towards 3 terminal points to their IDA program. One, having enough money to make a down payment and cover closing costs on your home. And home ownership is a dream for a lot of families. It's also, one of their most solid assets that a family can have. Second, maybe using that money to continue your education, to either take a degree or to enroll in some specialized job training so that you get a better job, so that your own economic power and growth continues to go up. Or the third option, perhaps go into business for yourself. Use that money to begin a micro enterprise or to expand a business that you already have going. And for a lot of people, in the day of technology and internet, they have home-based businesses, and some people, that's an attractive option for them. So the IDA helps a family save money and go through all of that education about the importance of saving, the importance of planning, the importance of budgeting, having that work and effort matched by a grant, and then at the end point of the program, within 2 years, using that money for a concrete good, and now having also the other tools, education and connections to see your dreams come true. The meeting we had this morning was on another program of IDAs with nonprofit agencies. So some of the agencies around the table are looking at especially home buying, but not necessarily just that. Heartland Refugee Resettlement Services was there, a branch of Lutheran Family Services. Omaha Housing Authority, New Community Development Corporation, Omaha 100 and Family Housing Advisory Services, the Salvation Army, and I'm sure I'm missing a few, Bellevue Housing and others. All of these nonprofit agencies are able, through another grant to make IDAs available in the metro area, reach out to some 22 clients and help them to save for those same goals: home ownership, continuing education, or opening a micro business.
Now, you're mentioning numbers that are 22, 8, very small. Obviously, because, I'm guessing, because you are putting this initiative together, you think that you can get those numbers to grow.
Yes.
Those sort of already sort of happened within the system as it is, but
Right.
there's so much more potential.
There's so much more potential. And what we need to do before, this is a great idea, but we need to have the relevant infrastructure to make sure that the program has viability, that the families really do achieve stability. If we were running around doing that with 100 people right now, the quality and the education that we're learning and administering a program like that wouldn't be there. So by developing and solidifying those opportunities, this will grow, God willing.
The interesting thing, and I'm using a word that's horribly outdated, but I don't know what the current word is. The buzzwords change. But you've got sort of a holistic approach to the individuals, as opposed to just one service that gives them, $50 for this or $25 for that, and then that's the end of the transaction, so to speak, to use a money term. Mm-hmm. So that you can follow these people through and make sure that the neat thing is that when a family learns to do this, the children learn it.
Yes.
This is, when you say Family Economic Success Initiative, I think that family is an operative word.
Yes.
As opposed to an individual who's in a family.
Right. One of the things that you'll be seeing in the community in the near future is presentations and outreach to newcomer communities, to different demographics of people, the elderly, the young people, young families, more established families, working individuals, bringing all of that general education out there so that people will begin to feed into these programs in a way that I think will benefit them. It is a fantastic thing when a kid learns to save. I was at a birthday party last weekend, and one of the little kids was playing with his toy car on the floor, and he came across a quarter. He picked the quarter up, and at first I thought, oh, right, straight to the mouth, right, he's a toddler. No, he turned the car over and stuck it in the wheel of the car and into the plastic body of the car. He used the car as a bank. And I thought, boy, if this 2.5, 3-year-old is already saving quarters, he's got a great future ahead of him.
One of the things that I want to mention are the people that are the partners in this. This is, in my mind, and you've been around a while, is kind of an unprecedented group of people.
Yes.
I think it's 6 or 7 of the banks in Omaha. Most of them are national or regional banks, but their local banks are involved. The City of Omaha, the UNO College of Public Affairs and Community Services here, the IRS, Family Housing Advisory Services, Federal Reserve Bank, Nebraska Legal Services, Creighton University's Legal Clinic, Health and Human Services, Consumer Credit Counseling, and a Greater Omaha Community Action. And that's just who you've got on board now. And those are all important players, and the banks particularly.
Yeah, one of the real victories this year was that the banks are offering the direct deposit accounts as a part of the one-day clinics that we're doing, as well as at some designated targeted clinics. And that is just going to be such a help for families who don't have that, because not only can they get their tax return direct deposited, but then they might switch and get their paychecks directly deposited. And as we were talking, there's both a good and minus to that. You don't really see your check anymore.
Right, you don't get to touch the money, but
that may be a good learning step for a family to move towards saving. If it's in the account, all right, I'm going to take this much out to take care of my expenses, but I'm going to leave that much in there or put it in another account, and that's going to be savings.
And they're not paying to have a check cashed, which is I mean, that's a, and this is not against any one business sector, but there are millions and millions of dollars that leave the pocketbooks and the pockets of people who can least afford it. And again, but it's unnecessary in many cases.
Right. And
it's a cultural shift for a lot of people too.
It's a cultural shift, and those fees can sometimes be hidden or exorbitant. What would you think? Oh, $1 to cash my paycheck, or $2 or $3 to have that done at an
ATM or something.
ATM.
If you
right, but that adds up. Those $2 and $3 things. If people were to walk around with a little notebook and jot down, this is what I spent today, or this week, or this month, and just mark in everything, $1.30 for that Snickers bar. They had 1 liter Pepsi for $2.22, and just listed all of that. All of a sudden we'd realize I'm spending a lot of money on things that I don't really need. Included in that, the $3 to cash my check, the $8 that it cost me to send some to my family in another country,
which if you have a bank, you can do that for, I believe, a little less than sort of the on-the-street rate.
Right. And you can plan it better. And really, planning is one of the keys behind any economic success.
Now, is there a model for any, has this been done elsewhere? Are you sort of inventing or reinventing,
the wheel? No, this has been done in other communities. The United Way of America has, through various agencies in other states, similar programs, not exactly the same, but similar, where they pulled together effective coalitions on the earned income tax credit. And it's a good source of data, and it helps to show that, yes, we can grow that reality here in Omaha. The IDAs, there's about 444 programs, I think, nationally that offer the individual development accounts.
Of various sizes,
Of
I'm sure.
various
Some might be
sizes.
very small and some.
Right, and so we're just jumping on that train now, and the train is leaving the station. The financial education and counseling, I think, is a more unique aspect that we're adding in, and that third area of FESI is really designed to be employer-based. So going into the workplace, offering a company to offer this opportunity for its employees to get financial education and counseling, to increase their own sense of literacy and how are you using your own money and how to make a budget, how to save, how to invest, how to use your company benefits in a way that's going to be helpful. Doing that in the workplace at the end of the workday, over a lunch hour, or if the willingness is there to even have work time dedicated to that, I think was going to help employers retain better employees who are also going to be more confident and not suffering under those last minute stresses that always seem to pop up for us.
This show reaches, as we say, greater Nebraska, and so it's harder to do things like this in smaller communities on that. But what can be learned for this, or are you willing to, share your information and sort of the knowledge curve that you're on a big knowledge curve right now yourself, just
Right.
having gotten involved with this.
Yeah, in fact, there are really two opportunities statewide that is happening. There is a statewide EIT coalition. I've only had the privilege of being on one conference call with groups across the state so far on that. And so, eventually we'll be able to have a website where people will go to find out this information. But in the meantime, certainly I'm happy to be a clearinghouse or to answer questions or find the answers to questions that people would be interested in outstate. There's also a statewide IDA coalition that is being formed that had its first call just a few weeks ago, and our second call is coming up at the end of this month, where we're beginning to look at what are the resources available in other communities, smaller communities, mid-sized cities, even the capital city.
So, but overall, this is putting all this together and in a way that you can reach out to people and they know after a while, after you've been around a while, that this is who you are and this is what they do and this is, viable and credible and trustworthy. This is still relatively new. This whole
Yes.
sort of concept of putting it all together.
Right.
And then making yourself known as someone who can be trusted, and trust is a huge thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes lacking for good reason or just out of mythology.
Perhaps the newest part about it is that Julie, who is the director of FESI, now has the opportunity to work full-time on these issues which have been so dear to her. And FESI, now being launched, also has a full-time associate director who can begin to reach out and develop the things that are needed, the website, promotional brochures, informative one-pages, materials that will help that. As far as the trust and the confidence level, well, I think the 48 clients that came through the last tax clinic at Girls Inc. last weekend really felt that. They felt that I came here to get my money back on my taxes, but through the process of the day, through seeing these other partners there, banks and agencies, legal aid and the IRS and people you might think are enemies, but really seeing and experiencing that, they're like, no, we're doing this together. And it turned into a marvelous community event in which people, as they were waiting for the preparers or had a little time to chew on some popcorn, got to know one another as neighbors. And I think that, to me, was a very meaningful event. We're having another one of those clinics this coming Saturday, February 11th, at the Liberty School at 20th and St. Mary's in Omaha.
And you'll be having more. So we'll put people in touch with you when they call and want to find out more.
Yes.
But In your years, you've worked with disadvantaged populations and challenged populations. How exciting is this to you personally?
It feels like not only a continuation of the work that I was doing with the immigrant communities, but really the opportunity for immigrant communities to take their rightful place and to integrate better into our society by having access to the traditional services that the rest of us take for granted, the banks, the the paying the taxes and all of that.
You know, there are a lot of mythologies about both poor people and immigrants, and probably then that's exponential when you have poor immigrants. But one of the things is that they don't try to, belong to our community, and part of that is they're working very hard. But I mean, part of it is this sort of thing. This would help them give more commonality and feel a part of the American economic system.
Mm-hmm. And part of it is reaching out and saying, hey, you're welcome to the table.
Right.
And
no,
here's how you do it.
No, and that's what's happening. But a lot of that is not knowing how, not feeling comfortable, and it's the last thing you have time for to go investigate it.
Right.
So the United Way is sort of spearheading this, but all these other organizations, and I'm assuming at some point you're going to be asking for money.
Yes, well, we're going to
Because
continue to look at what's
keep
going to
this
be
going.
needed to sustain our project, but we have a great consortium of Omaha funders that have gotten behind this, that have enabled this project to be launched. And FESI really is a collaboration between United Way of the Midlands and the University of Nebraska Omaha. I have the fortune of falling under that side of the organization. The College of Public Affairs and Community Service provides our office space, provides my salary and my accountability, and Julie and I work together on FESI with the help of other groups like the Mammal Foundation and the Weeds Foundation.
Well, certainly in a time, no matter what political party, you're always talking about people need to be part of the community, they need to be financially independent, they need to take control. I think you've got a lot of bases covered that appeal to a lot of people. I want to thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ed Leahy with the Family Economic Success Initiative, or FESI for short, and we'll hope to be hearing more, and we'll get people in contact with you if they want to know more.
Great.
Thank you for joining us, and thank you for joining us this week on Consider This.
Consider This is an issues and information program produced by UNO Television. More information and program archives can be found at unotv.unomaha.edu. If you'd like to share your comments about this show, call UNO TV at 402-554-2516 during regular business hours.
The 9th season of Consider This is brought to you in part by From the Top, a national program showcasing the musical talents of young people. From the Top can be heard on KVNO Classical 90.7 each Sunday at 5 p.m.